Hey guys, my name is Vance, and today I'm going to be showing you the easy way to install Windows 8 using an ISO file. Now, first of all, I sort of don't recommend installing Windows 8. This is more of a video just for entertainment to show you guys the install for Windows 8, but Microsoft has the official download still on their website, so therefore I'm going to show you how you can get Windows 8 if you do want to do it. Just know that there will be some degrades and security fixes because Microsoft is no longer making updates for Windows 8. Another thing to note about Windows 8 is that the installation requires a product key for Windows 8. In some cases, your computer will already have the product key built into your computer, and sometimes you will need to have a product key to manually enter. If your computer has a Windows 8 sticker, most likely at the bottom of it, then most likely it will have a built-in Windows 8 license key. But that is not always the case, and sometimes you will still need a license key to enter manually. This is one of the other reasons why it's just kind of an entertainment video and going to Windows 8 may not work ideally. Before we start the tutorial, I just want to say that you will need a backed up 8 gigabit USB flash drive, one that can be wiped for the installation files to be copied onto, and that you can use for the installation. You will need an already working Windows computer that can download the ISO file and that has administrator privileges so you can copy the files to the flash drive. You also need 6 gigabytes of storage space left on your computer to download the files. That is not including the space you will need to install Windows. For more information on the minimum requirements to install Windows, you can check the link down in the description for more information. And I will go ahead and go to my browser, and in the search bar we will type in Windows 8 ISO download, and we will click the link that is from Microsoft.com. Then we will just scroll down and select our edition. I'm just going to do Windows 8.1 for default. I'm going to click confirm. I'm going to choose my product language as English United States. Confirm. And it will give us two download links, one for 32-bit and one for 64-bit. Now, 64-bit and 32-bit are system architectures. To make sure you know which one is right for your system, we can quickly type in the search bar and go to our control panel and then enter to open the application. And in control panel at the top right, you would just type in system in the search bar and then just click on the system header. Depending on what version of Windows you're using, sometimes it shows up in settings for newer versions, and in older versions it'll show up in control panel itself. Anyways, it should show you your system type. Mine is a 64-bit operating system, so therefore I know to go to my browser and click the 64-bit download. Now we will wait for the download to finish. This might take a few minutes as the Microsoft download servers seem to be very slow at downloading. I will cut to when the downloading is done. And now that the Windows 8 ISO is finished downloading, we will now type in our search bar and type in Rufus. Rufus is a software used to create bootable USB flash drives. There are a lot of different softwares that can be used to burn files to flash drives, but Rufus is what we will be using in this video. So we will go to the Rufus official website, rufus.ie. We can close this, and we will scroll down to the download section and click the Rufus 3.18 button, and we will click this X at the top right of this ad, and it will download. Something to note is not to click any of these download buttons right here, as these are all ads and they lead to something entirely different. The only thing you want to be pressing is this one Rufus button on the website and that X at that ad, and then this will start downloading. Once it's done downloading, we can go ahead and close out of our browser, and we can go to File Explorer, locate our Downloads folder, or wherever you have your downloads set to, and open up Rufus. And this is where you will need admin privileges. We will click Yes, and Rufus will ask us for automatic updates. To make this easy, I will just press No. Then from here, it may look overwhelming, but I promise you it is not. We will first close out of that, and we will have a flash drive to select from this dropdown. Now currently I have everything unplugged from my computer, and this is what I recommend you do right now. If you have other flash drives, anything plugged into your computer that you are not using for the installation, I recommend just unplugging it so you don't accidentally wipe the drive. Then you want to insert your designated install drive that you want to use for the installation, and just make sure this is backed up because it is going to get wiped. Then, as you can see, Windows has picked up on the fact that we just plugged in a flash drive, and it shows here. This should be the only one selected here, and as well, the name may not be exactly the same. Mine was previously used for an installation, so it looks like this name. It could be any name, and as long as it's 8 gigabytes, mine happens to be a 16 gigabit drive, but yours can be 8 gigabytes at least. Then, once we've made sure that this is the only drive plugged in, and that this is the drive we want to use, we will then go here and select our ISO file that we downloaded. So you click the downloads folder or where you have your downloads set to, and click on the Windows 8.1 ISO, and we will click open. And you will just want to make sure this says Windows 8.1, the right ISO we selected, and the image option will stay default at standard Windows installation. And then we have our partition scheme, which is either going to be MBR or GPT. To help us determine this, we are going to right click on our start button, click disk management, and then we are going to locate our hard drive, not our removable disk, our flash drive, but our real hard drive, the one that contains the C drive that we know our operating system is running on. You may have multiple drives, but you want to locate the one that is your hard drive for your computer, and it should be the one running the C drive. We're going to right click over here on that drive, then we're going to click Properties, then we're going to click Volumes. Here, next to Partition Style, it will list what partition scheme your computer is currently using. Mine is using GPT, and yours might be using MBR. Now, you should pick whichever one is here. It's just something to note though, that GPT is the newest and more modern system of partition schemes. So mine says GUID partition table GPT, so I'm going to go to Rufus and select GPT as I have selected here. Then I will leave the target system default as it is determined off of the partition scheme you choose, and I will leave the rest of these options default. I will then click Start, and it is going to warn us one last time that our flash drive is going to be wiped. So just make sure that this flash drive is backed up and the one you intend to use for the installation before clicking OK. I will now proceed with this and click OK. This might take a little bit of time to do, maybe about 20 minutes at most, and I'm going to skip to the end when it's done. As we can see here, Rufus has finished copying over the files to the installation flash drive. If you chose GPT, you may see an extra message pop up, and you just need to press close on that. And if you don't get it, that's fine. After that though, we will just all click close here. Once it says ready and it's green, we'll just click close. And we will head back to our browser to search for our boot menu key and BIOS key. So for this, we will usually type in the manufacturer of our computer and then what the boot menu key is. So I will say HP, because mine is an HP, boot menu key. Essentially, when we restart, we need to tell our computer to boot into a different drive other than our hard drive. And when the screen turns black after Windows is done turning off, then you're going to start spamming the key while it's restarting, and maybe it'll beep, maybe it'll make some noise, but it will go into the boot menu where we can then boot off of our flash drive. Now I already know my boot menu key is F9, however it may take a second to look for what the boot key is, but eventually you'll see some things like press escape or F9 immediately to enter the boot menu, and that's where you can find out what your boot menu key is. It may not say it exactly, it may say multiple keys, and sometimes you're going to need to restart a few times because a key may not work at all. Even though it says it, usually only one key is going to open the boot menu, and it might only be one of these that is actually working for that. So, unfortunately, I don't know what the boot key is for 1,000 different models of computers, so you're just going to have to look it up yourself. The other thing that we want to find besides our boot menu key is the BIOS key. So the BIOS is a configuration on your computer unrelated to Windows that a lot of people haven't ever seen, but we need it just in case we need to switch some options because it is possible that our drive won't show up in the boot menu and we need to switch some options in the BIOS. So we're going to look up HP BIOS key. Mine is F10, I already know that. And as you can see here, it says pressing the F10 key will lead you to the BIOS setup screen. So that's essentially how we find our boot menu and BIOS keys. And now that we have those down and noted, we're going to close out of this and we are going to restart your computer. Make sure your flash drive is connected right now, and we are going to restart our computer. And in this process, for me, my boot menu key is the F9 key, so I'm just going to start spamming the F9 key once the screen turns black. So I'm going to start spamming the F9 key. And as we can see here, my computer can see my external flash drive. However, some of you may not get the same result, and your flash drive may not show up in the boot menu. In the case that your flash drive doesn't show up in the boot menu, we will simply restart our computer, either by holding the power button down and turning it back on, or by, for some computers, pressing the Control-Alt-Delete button, and it will restart. You're immediately going to start spamming your BIOS key button that we found. And I'm going to load into my BIOS. So this is our BIOS, and it is not going to look exactly the same for everyone. A lot of people will have different BIOS menus. This is not the most common BIOS menu out there. Mine just happens to have a mouse and is very interactive, but a lot of others, they only use the keyboard. So we're here to fix the issue of your flash drive not showing up. Usually you're going to need to go to a boot tab or an advanced tab in your BIOS, as I will show on the screen. For me, it is system configuration and boot options. And we will scroll down to our boot mode options. So the reason we are here is because sometimes when we pick the boot mode to set on our flash drive, such as GPT or MBR, that boot mode might be different than what your computer is currently set on, and sometimes things can get mixed up, and that happens. So here's what you need to know. If you've chosen MBR for your flash drive, you're going to select the legacy option. If you chose GPT for your flash drive, you're going to select the UEFI native option. Now, if you were using UEFI native before and you need to switch to the legacy option, you may notice you can't switch to the legacy option, and that is because you need to disable a feature called Secure Boot. That is a different option, usually located under your security settings. You may need to look up where to find it in your specific BIOS, but usually there will be some type of Secure Boot option. You will then disable that, and you go back to the boot mode settings, and you should see that you're now able to set the boot mode to legacy. Once we do that and select the boot mode that our flash drive is matched to, we will then click Exit, and you will click Yes to save. I will click No because I do not need to change anything here. And you will reboot into your boot menu. Here you should now see that your flash drive is visible, and we will now boot off of our flash drive into the Windows installation. And I will click Enter on that. You will then start to see the Windows installation start to load. It looks like a Windows 10 installation, but it is really for Windows 8. And this may take a few minutes to load, so I will skip to the part when it's done. Now we see that the Windows 8 installation process has loaded. We will now select our region and our language and keyboard input, and then once you've verified they're all right, we will click Next. Then we will click Install Now. Now, I'm currently seeing a different screen than some of you may be seeing, and some of you may be seeing a screen to enter a license code. I will put a quick picture on the screen of what that should look like for some of those users who might be confused right now. Now, to proceed with this screen, you must enter the product key that is required, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Enter it in the bar and then click Next. For some other people, your computer may come with an automatic Windows 8 license key built into the computer, and that is my case as I'm automatically on the license terms screen. Once you've figured out the activation process, then we are going to be at a screen with the license terms. You are going to accept the license terms, assuming you've read through the license terms and agreed to them. As I have, I am agreeing to the license terms, and I will click Next. Then I will click Custom to do a clean install of Windows. Here is the drive management screen in the Windows 8 installation. You may see some partition numbers here and a drive number. You may notice you have multiple drives, And how do you tell? Because these are all drive 0, and that means one drive. If you have one that says drive 1 or 2 or 3, that's a different number than drive 0, so therefore that is a different drive. Partition numbers do not matter because they are essentially folders within a drive, so this is still part of one drive. If you do have multiple drives, because it's possible to have multiple drives on a computer, you want to make sure the one you are selecting for the installation is the one that you've used before or that you know is the right drive for Windows. And you can check this by looking at the total size and adding them all up from all of these partitions. Another easy way to do this is to simply delete the partitions and the numbers will combine together. This will wipe anything on the drive, so just keep that in mind. And as you can see, the list was getting smaller as I was deleting those partitions. And now I have one drive with unallocated space. If you have two separate drives, they will not combine like those partitions did because they are two separate different drives. So therefore, you want to make sure you pick the right drive and then that drive says unallocated space. Once you verify that and selected your drive, you're going to click Next, and the Windows 8 installation will start copying over the Windows files for the Windows operating system. This process might take a little bit of time, so you're going to see your computer restart a few times, and it could take up to a half an hour to an hour. I'm going to skip to when the process is finished. And now we can see that the Windows 8 installation has finished installing Windows, and now the setup process has begun. First it's asking us for our favorite color, and then it's asking us for a PC name. And I'm going to put test PC as I'm just using this for the video. I will then click Next, and Windows will then ask us to put in a network. Now, it's kind of like Windows 11 in this scenario, where if you pick a network, you will be forced to make a Microsoft account and connect it to your computer. If you don't want to do that, just skip the step and add your internet later, which is what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to click skip this step. Then I will use the Express settings for default. I will then put a username of the local account I'm going to use. So I'm going to put user, and I'm going to put a password, and I'm going to add a password hint, and then I will click finish. Okay, you can't make the hint the same thing as the password. I will just say that this is my password hint, and then I will click finish. Then it will say finalizing your settings, and Windows 8 should start loading into the operating system. This could take a second, so I will skip to when it is done. And Windows will finish loading into the operating system. So this is Windows 8. It looks pretty nice. Haven't used Windows 8 in a long time, but looks like a good operating system. Now I'm going to show the users how to get back their flash drive. Now at some point you could have unplugged this and it would have been fine. If you did, just plug it back in now, and if you still have it in, then the computer should have already recognized the flash drive. I'm going to plug in my flash drive. And as we can see, Windows 8 has recognized my flash drive. I am then going to right-click on the Start button and click on Disk Management. For all users, all you have to do is one thing. Locate your removable drive. So I have one here above, but that is my C drive. I want to locate my removable drive. And I'll do this right here. This is my removable flash drive that I had for the installation. I'm going to want to right-click and then click Format. Then I will put the volume label as whatever I've had before for it. I will then give it NTFS, but you can choose FAT32 if you want to look up what the differences between the file systems, you can, but I'm going to pick NTFS, and then I will leave the rest default. I will then click OK, and it will let us know that the drive is going to be wiped, and this will wipe it back to a clean drive that you can use again. So we are going to click OK. And within a few seconds, Windows will format the drive and clear it out, and it will be back to a flash drive that you can use for all of your stuff. Then, Windows is finished formatting my flash drive. I will close out of here, and quickly check in File Explorer to see if the flash drive works. Sometimes disk management will not format the flash drive correctly, and therefore when you try to click on it, it will say Format Drive again. So you will then get a window that looks like this when you click that Format Drive Again button. Then you will choose the options for your file system and your name, and then just click Start Again and OK, and it should fix the issue with the drive. Mine, however, did get formatted correctly, so it will go to it and say this folder is empty. So as you can see, my flash drive is ready to use for my files again. Then I will close out of this, click this up arrow, and eject my flash drive. For others of you, you may want to check if Windows got activated or not. To check our activation on this computer, we are going to right-click on the Start button, and we are going to click System. In this window, right down here, it will tell us whether Windows is activated or not activated. Future editor me here. I forgot to connect my computer to the internet after finishing the installation because I forgot that I skipped the step to add the Wi-Fi network. So in the video, when I check for my license, it says it's not activated, and the reason is because I wasn't connected to the internet. You want to make sure you're connected to the internet before you check the license status, otherwise Windows won't connect to the activation server and it won't pull the data of whether you're activated or not. Anyways though, back to the video. I currently am not activated on Windows 8, so therefore some features are limited. To activate this, you may need to go to Microsoft to get a license key. Even though Windows 8 tends to limit more than the modern operating systems today, such as Windows 10 and 11, you can still basically use the operating system without licensing it. So it is important to remember that if you really want to use Windows, but don't want to get a license key. That's how you would check the activation on Windows 8. And this is essentially it. This is Windows 8. It looks a lot different from some of the newer operating systems we have today, but it's just a cool thing to look over, and it is still cool that Microsoft offers the Windows 8 download on their website. Anyways though, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hoped it helped if you wanted to try this out. It's more of an entertainment video though. Highly don't recommend getting Windows 8 only because it is no longer being updated with security patches by Microsoft and with some other features. But since it was on their website and the actual download was there, I figured I'd show you anyways. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and peace out.